We're diving into the story of an RVer who lives by the fly rod and chases the rodeos of the Pacific Northwest and the American West. Welcome to RV Out West. I'm Brooks. Based in the Pacific Northwest, my family of four hits the road to explore the best of RV life out west. From hidden gems and epic destinations to helpful tips and real road stories. So grab your coffee and join the journey. I'm excited to introduce Stan. He is a full-time RVer whose life revolves around his two great passions, fly fishing and the rodeo. Traveling the back roads and scenic highways of the American West, Stan has built a lifestyle rooted in adventure, freedom, and connection to the outdoors. From casting his lines in crystal clear mountain streams to setting up camp near dusty rodeo arenas, he's found a way to blend the calm rhythm of nature with the excitement of the arena lights. Stan's RV isn't just his home, it's his gateway to exploration. He follows the seasons, chasing trout runs across the Pacific Northwest and rodeo events from small town gatherings to big regional competitions. Along the way, he's gathered a wealth of stories, lessons, and practical wisdom about life on the road, proving that the best adventures often come when you trade routine for the open horizon. Thank you for joining us here on RV Out West. I'm really excited to chat with you.
Thank you. Look forward to talking to you as well. Yesterday on my travel day, I listened to your latest podcast on the fall clean out and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's something I need to do. And so that was more of a note to myself. I'm actually going to be doing it next weekend or this upcoming weekend.
I needed to Marie Kondo my 36-foot Class A motorhome myself.
Yep.
It is after 2.5 years on the road in this RV, you acquire a lot of stuff, and some of it you don't need.
Yep. Yep. Well, let's start a little bit, and will you just kind of share with us your story and how you kind of got into RVing and the RV life?
Oh, sure. Back in on March 13th, 2020, and the Friday that will live forever as the day the world shut down for COVID. So I was working a full-time job. I was remote with a large telecommunications company, and we were in the middle of a big project. So from March through about July, I stared at my 15 by 15 home office that by July the walls were felt like 5 foot by 5 foot. It kind of became a jail cell. And I said, you know something? I can work remotely. Why don't I just go start doing research and buy an RV? So my first RV was a Class C, no slides, 25 feet long, and I left on August 15th, 2020 for 77 days on the road. My first adventure was brand new RVer, 77 days on the road, no car. And from there, in 21, I upgraded to a 32-foot Class C with a driver's side slide because I wanted more room. Fast forward a couple of years later, I moved up to a 36-foot gas Class A motorhome that I affectionately named Birdie B. And she is a Tiffin Allegro open road 34 PA, 4 slides, washer and dryer on board, everything I've ever needed in an RV. It's been perfect. So I've been RVing roughly 5 years, traveled to about 30 states, including Oregon and Washington. And I've got a funny story to tell you about my first trip in my 36-foot Class A. Some friends of mine are on Loon Lake in Washington. I'm sure you know where Loon Lake is. They have a house and they had full hookups for an RV, but they didn't plan too well. Their driveway was about 14 feet wide. On one side of it is a row of trees, and where they have their septic system, you can't, obviously, if you park the RV on there at 24,000 pounds, you'll crush their septic system. So I had about a 10-foot wide area, about 6 feet off of their outbuilding, that I had to back into. Took the better part of an afternoon to get it in there. Thankfully, no paint was scraped, nothing was hit. The only the only remnants I left were divots in their asphalt driveway where I was turning the wheel to get it backed up. It's a cautionary tale. I can't tell you how many times I stopped, put it in park, got out, walked around, then moved another 5 feet, did that again, moved another 3 feet until I got it right where it needed to be. But then I swore, never again will I do that.
That's crazy. Good job,
It
though.
is. It is, and, I've got pictures. I think I sent you that picture of me, parked beside that outbuilding, with the front tires about a foot and a half off the ground. It wasn't level at all
Yeah, I
either.
saw that. Yeah, 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 for
Yeah.
sure. Well, then tell me a bit about kinda how did your life change in that first year of living on the road?
The biggest change was, as new RVers, we think campground Wi-Fi will give you internet anywhere. I'm sure you've learned, as I have, that campground internet is kinda like rolling the dice in Vegas. Sometimes you hit a 7, sometimes you crap out. The first thing I had to figure out was my internet connection, because working remotely, you've got to be always connected. 5 years in, I have a dual internet strategy. I have a Starlink mounted on the roof, so it's always on. And for backup, I have a PepWave router with a Verizon and a T-Mobile SIM card in it for backup cellular internet when there's tree cover, cloud cover, storms, all of that. The freedom of being on the road, I thoroughly enjoy. Really do like where you can go, what you can see. And I told a friend of mine recently, all my friends said, "Well, we're going to Europe, or we're going here, or we're going there." Have you seen Mount Rushmore? Have you seen Old Faithful? Have you floated a river in Oregon fishing? And there are so many sights that you can see here in this country. Why would you wanna go anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I
Mhm.
wanna talk a little bit now about some of your travels around the Pacific Northwest. What have been some of your favorite, gems or stops here in the Pacific Northwest that you think, an RVer might not know about and or needs to know about? I guess same thing.
Okay, so I stayed at a beautiful RV park in Spokane, which is in the eastern part of Washington State. It's an RV resort. They had 100-foot long sites. It was gorgeous, and then took the car and drove over to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and fished the Coeur d'Alene River. So I love Eastern Washington, Western Idaho, and um, I hadn't been to Seattle or to the Washington, Oregon coast yet, but I
Okay.
foresee that I will.
Okay, yeah, fair. Um, has there been any memorable experience that happened at any one of those locations, whether it was down in Medford or in Coeur d'Alene or out in Spokane that really stands out as like
Oh,
an aha?
well, I ended up in Portland, Oregon, and stayed at the Columbia River Resort
Oh, yeah.
in Portland,
How was
and
that resort, by the way, actually? Just real quick. What's your quick
fair to partly cloudy with a chance of thunderstorms.
Okay.
I give it about a 3 on a 1 to 5 scale.
Okay.
It's the interesting experience there was I had a homeless person knock on my door, and asked me for a donation. I said, "Where so I asked him, I said, "Where are you gonna put the money?" He said, "I'm gonna go buy food." I said, "Well, let me do you one better." So I put together a quick I carry enough food for 4 4 times one person. So I said, "Instead of me giving you money, let me give you this bag of," and it was like chips, crackers, couple of cans of soup, that sort of thing. Because and then when I asked the park management about that, they said, "Yeah, that's one of the problems we've been having lately." This was 21, 22. I think it was 22. And they said, "We've been having this problem lately, and we try to curb it with security, but we can't catch everybody." And I asked, "What's the policy? What's the procedure?" And they said, "Do not, under any circumstances, give them money." And I said, "Well, I gave them food." They said that was the best thing you could have done. And I made them wait outside while I put the package together. That's to me, that brings me back around to help your fellow man, help them because people are not as well off as we are, quite frankly, and pay it forward if you can.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
So I love the pines and the fishing in Oregon and Washington. Friend of mine has invited me to go catch Dungeness crab, and I said, "As soon as I can figure out how to put that trip together, I'll let you know because I wanna do that." Dungeness has a season, right?
Yes, it's a up here in Washington State, it's usually starts around 4th of July and runs
Okay,
through till about, mm, mid to end of August.
okay.
Well, let's talk about fishing. You fly fish.
I do.
That is something I have always wanted to do. In the past, I have been a river bait chucker, mostly chucking spoons and fishing for salmon as they come up the rivers. I've done a fair share of saltwater fishing for salmon, just trolling around and doing all of that. Fly fishing has always kind of been on my list of to-dos. I don't know if I want to start another expensive habit. Uh,
It is an expensive habit, 100%.
Tell me about getting into fly fishing and, tell me what's the draw for you and, tell me a bit about some of you gotta tell me a tall tale about the one that got away or the fish you caught in, Rogue River or something. Tell me.
Okay, so how I got started fly fishing. My growing up, I was, my dad's mom's firstborn grandson, so I was always doted on, and I've al dad taught me to fish at probably 4 or 5 years old with the Zebco 33, casting a, worm with a bobber, and when I turned 12, 13, 14, I saw Lefty Kreh on TV. Lefty was a world-renowned fly fisherman, and I said, "I want to do that." So, my grandmother knew a guy that owned a outfitter called Jesse Brown's Outdoors in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she said, "Let me take you over to talk to Joe and get you some fly casting lessons, let him teach you how to tie flies." And so for the next 5 or 7 years, probably 12 to about 20, that's what I did. I fly fished, I went up to the North Carolina mountains, and then for about 30 years, I put the fly rod in the closet, didn't touch it. But then when I started this RV adventure, I said, "You know something? This is a cool way to be able to fish the Henry's Fork in Idaho, the North Platte in Wyoming, the South Platte." So I got back into it, started tying flies again, and it just grew from that. The best story I have is on the Deschutes River in Oregon. You can float a river, but you cannot fish from the boat. You have to get out of the boat and wade fish. Well, first stop of the morning is 35 degrees that morning. First stop of the morning, I step out of the boat. Took a step and a half and a slime on the rock. Next thing I know, I am submerged at 35 degrees with an 8-hour float ahead of us.
Oh, that's
Soaking
terrible.
wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I'm assuming you were in waders too, so then
I
you just
was.
yeah,
So
so
the
you're
waders filled up,
yep.
and so guide got me pulled back into the boat, got rid of the waders, got all of that, turned them inside out, and I didn't fish for another couple of hours while everything dried out. And my buddy that was with me was just laughing at me, just absolutely laughing at me like
And he should have been.
he should have. Yeah,
Yeah,
he should
it's
have.
well deserved. Yep.
I deserved it, and, I said, "Well, I'm a klutz. We all know that. I'm a klutz," but I still one-upped him later that day.
Good.
I caught the biggest fish. It was a, 20-inch rainbow trout,
Oh, sweet.
and the Deschutes is memorable mainly for the dunking. The fish was a bonus, but, that trip was memorable for the dunking.
Yeah, that's funny. That's great. Have you, done any fly fishing up in Montana, or is that on your radar for possible future trips?
Have fly fished in, the Madison
Okay.
in Montana. We fished several rivers inside Yellowstone. 2 buddies and I met. I picked them up at the West Yellowstone, Montana airport. We camped inside Yellowstone, and we booked a guide for a day. With being a solo traveler, I always book a guide.
Yeah.
Ma It's not that I don't know how to fish and
Right,
all
no.
of that. I look at it as a safety factor.
Well, and
One
also
person.
they know the holes and know right? Versus
Mhm,
sure, you can read a
mhm.
river and be like, "Oh, that's an eddy, there might be some fish holding up in there," or
Right.
whatever, but a guide is no, you're paying for their knowledge of that river, not to
That's
babysit
right.
you necessarily.
That's right.
I've used
Um,
guided trips numerous times for fishing trips, and it's always, you know
it you get more bang for your buck, and if you have a limited amount of time in an area, it's that you pay them, they know where the fish are, they put you on them, and if God forbid you fall in or something happens, you have somebody there
right, to help you.
to rescue
Yeah.
you. Yes.
Let me ask you
Yes.
this, how do you
Mhm.
handle fishing licenses? Are you just buying them, online from the various fish and wildlife departments for each state? Like a
I
one-day fishing license or something?
I when I book an area, let's say so I fished 5 different places in Wyoming this summer, okay? So I bought an annual Wyoming license because I knew I would use it, and a short-term fishing license is 20 to $30 for 1 to 5 days, okay? Depending on, but an annual non-resident fishing license is only 110 $110 for a year. So I usually buy the annual license because I don't know if I'm gonna go back. I don't know if I'm going to, fish more than the 3 or 4 days. Like in Wyoming this summer, I fished 15 days over a 3-month period.
Interesting.
But I go online. I usually go to Department of Fish and Wildlife online and use their online service, download the PDF license, and then store it in the photos on my phone under a fishing licenses album.
Yeah, perfect. That's smart. That's a good idea. Between fly fishing as one thing, you also have another huge passion.
I do rodeo.
You do,
Yes.
and, every time I hear that word, I can't help but think of Garth Brooks and the damned old rodeo, you know?
That's well, every time I hear that, it's much too the Garth it's still Garth, it's the much too young to feel this
Yeah,
blank
damn old.
old.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and, a worn out tape of Chris Ledoux back in the I'm gonna age myself. Back when I was 20 in the early 90s, I rode bucking horses and bulls. I tried to do it for a living, but I wasn't any good, okay? I didn't have talent, and you kinda gotta have a little talent
What was your
when
longest
you
ride on a bronc?
well, I made the list. I mean, I made some money. My best year, I made about $16,000.
Okay.
So, which back then it took about 60 to make the national finals rodeo in December in Las Vegas. But fast forward to today, I have a passion for rodeos, so spent some time at I actually rode in Cody in the early '90s, and I went back there a couple of years ago, saw a friend of mine, Sid McFarland, who worked the Cody Night Rodeo over a 50-year period. He worked it every decade from the '70s. His last performance at Cody Night was in 2023.
Cool.
So, been to Cody. I went to Cheyenne back years ago. On my bucket list in the RV is to go to Cheyenne Frontier Days,
Yeah.
and I really wanna get up to Pendleton for the Letterbuck
Yeah.
Rodeo.
Pendleton is a really cool area in the Umatilla Valley area. It's
Yes.
just gorgeous. Yeah, and there's a couple of great camp spots up there. There's one on a hill about 20 minutes outside of town. I'm drawing a
Mhm.
blank. It's a state park.
Okay.
We couldn't get into that one. And so we ended up, there's one at the Pilot truck stop, and it's
Wow.
not attached to the Pilot. It is just nestled up right behind the Pilot.
Mhm.
And that actually was an amazing campground. We're kind of pulling through and we're like, is this going to be loud and obnoxious hearing, the big 18 wheelers humming all night long and whatever? No, it was, it was a great, and yeah, it was a cool
Cool.
campsite.
Cool. So I want to get to Pendleton. I
Okay.
want to get to help me pronounce Puyallup
Yes.
or
Good
Puyallup.
job. Yeah. Puyallup
Oh, there's a great rodeo at Puyallup every year, and I'd like to go there.
and Ellensburg. I told you about Ellensburg. Put
Ellisburg,
Ellensburg on
yeah.
your list too if you're not.
Yes. So I guess I'll have to spend about 2 months in Washington, Oregon during the July, August timeframe because I think all those rodeos are July, August, September.
Yep. From Washington, you are probably 8 hours car drive, so maybe call it 9, 10 RV time
Right.
to Calgary. So if the
Okay.
Calgary Stampede is on that
That's
list
another one
too,
that's on my
yeah,
bucket
you
list.
can make it up to Calgary as well, and then go explore Banff and Jasper after the rodeo.
What is the name of that lake? Dadgummit. I know the name up there. It's named after a lady. What's the name of that lake in Banff?
Lake Louise.
Lake Louise,
Yeah.
yes, Lake Louise. I wanna go see Lake Louise. I actually wanna fish Lake Louise, so, not with a fly rod, probably trolling or something like that for lake trout, and, I think that would be cool.
Well, this is where I can do a little plug on RV Out West. We covered Banff, and I have an episode all about what you need to know crossing the border in an RV, where I interview a border agent from the Canadian
Great,
side. And then I have an
great.
episode all about Banff, where you can camp, what you need to know, because their campgrounds are run, or the booking for a
Mhm.
campsite is very different in Canada than it is in the US.
Okay, okay. I mean, what I how I typically book a campground, and I get this question all the time. So Stan, do you book 6 months or 8 months in advance at some of these campgrounds? Mm, it depends. If, like, I am fishing the North Platte River at Memorial Day weekend, yes, I will book 3, 4, 5, 6 months out to make sure I get my spot. If I'm going to Cody in July, yeah, I book 6 months out because I wanna stay at the Ponderosa downtown Cody. But then there've been the last minute detours where I've booked a campsite sitting in a Walmart parking lot on the app, and I'm sure you've done it both ways
I
as
have.
well.
I try to, like, do my blocks, right? So if I know I'm gonna be
Mhm.
in an area for a while, I will pre-book that in advance, so I
Right.
have that block, and then kinda getting from point A to that block,
Mhm.
that's just a
That's up in the
combination of,
air.
yeah, up in the air. What can I do? What can I see? Where can I go? Where can I park?
Right. Seriously, I want to see Puyallup, Ellensburg, Pendleton, and I love Pendleton wool. Y'all, that is the best export out of the Pacific Northwest is Pendleton wool blankets, Pendleton wool shirts.
Yep. We went. It's so cool. We bought a blanket that we were keeping in the RV, and now we keep it in the home. We have a really cool, like, Glacier National Park, throw blanket and whatever, and the
Mhm.
store is very cool. Very, very
I
cool.
I've got a Pendleton wool blanket that I pull out and I'll sleep underneath it in the winter. But my lifestyle revolves around the RV rallies. It revolves around fishing and just seeing things I want to see, going to a rodeo, going fishing, or spending a week at, in Yellowstone or spending I wanna go to Glacier. The 2 times I had planned to go to Glacier, things happened and plans changed. I'm sure and so you cancel reservations and all of that. But, with this lifestyle, one of the things I've learned is you gotta be a little flexible.
Totally, 100%. If you could give one piece of advice to someone considering just kind of doing the RV thing, what would it be?
I have 3 things if they're considering doing the RV life, whether it's full-time weekend warrior or a seasonal traveler. Do your homework when you're choosing what type of recreational vehicle you get in, whether it's a 15-foot teardrop or a 45-foot diesel pusher. Learn all you can about the RV systems. And my second piece of advice for new RVers is take an RV education course somewhere, whether it's offered at a rally, whether it's you go to a RV training school online, learn the systems. And the biggest thing that has saved me more times than anything is those manuals aren't to gather dust. You need to read your manuals because your manuals can help you out of a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. You are also a published author.
I am. I started writing in 2015. I wrote a nonfiction book about my grandfather. I didn't know him. He died 1 year before I was born. But in 2014, I found all the letters that he had written my grandmother during his service in World War II. Through those letters and conversations, I learned about the grandfather I never knew.
Oh,
But
cool.
this year, I have started writing an RV educational series. It's called Rolling Smooth: How to Enjoy the RV Life Without Losing Your Cool. Book 1 talks all about getting into RVing, what you should know, what you should learn, some of the tips, tricks, and tools that I used over the last 5 years. Book 2 gets more into the systems of RVs: electrical, water, black and gray tank, propane. I talk a lot about safety in book 2 because this RV life can be dangerous because you're dealing with electricity, you're dealing with water, and you're dealing with propane. If you combine electricity and water, you could end up in a bad day, in a bad way, and propane leaks and propane safety. So I cover the nuts and bolts of RVing. I was sitting this morning. I am at the Family RV Association's Greater Eastern Area Rally in Myrtle Beach. So this morning, I walked over and sat in on their RV Basics education program. The instructor said, he told me as we were just chatting a little bit, because I gave him copies of the book to review and give me hints and tips, and he said, what I really like about this book is I gave this book to my 8-year-old granddaughter, and she came to me and understood what you were talking about. You put it on a level that's very relatable.
That's great. Where can people find you online and follow along on your adventures? Tell us.
So you can find me at wanderinggypsyrvlife.com. And on Facebook, it's facebook.com/wanderinggypsyrvlife. Same with Instagram and YouTube. You just put an @ in front of Wandering Gypsy RV Life on YouTube. Catch my podcast anywhere you catch RV Out West.
Hey, Stan, thank you so much for taking the time joining with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brooks. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to RV Out West. If you're enjoying the show, I'd love for you to take a moment to leave a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts or with whatever app you use to listen to the show. If you've already done so, I sincerely thank you for that. Your feedback helps more RVers discover the podcast and keep our conversations rolling down the road. Also, feel free to give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook where you can join in on the conversations. Next week, we're sitting down with the team from Campfire Stories for a conversation that's all about connection, storytelling, and life around the flames. We'll dive into how shared stories bring travelers together and keep the spirit of adventure alive long after the campfire burns out. You won't want to miss this one. Thanks for listening to RV Out West. Be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed the show, tell a friend and please leave a rating or a review. It would mean a lot. Special thanks to Scott Home Music for our intro song, We Are One. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook to join in on the conversation. Now, get out there, explore, and go see what's beyond the horizon.